I see the same comments on almost every video I make. They're from people who dream of becoming machine learning engineers or data scientists, but doubts are holding them back. I never studied computer science, my math skills aren't great, or I don't have a master's degree. If you've ever had these doubts, this video is for you. To sum it up, the short answer is yes. But of course, exactly why or how depends on your situation. Let's break it down, starting with concerns about education. First up, I don't have a computer science degree. Neither do I. I'm an applied scientist at Twitch or Amazon, and both my bachelor's and master's degrees are in social science. I'm self-taught in terms of math and software engineering skills. While having a CS background can absolutely be helpful, especially for machine learning roles, most practical skills can be self-taught through project-based learning. Next up, I don't have a master's degree or a PhD. This one's trickier. Many roles use resume scanning tools that might filter you out before a human even sees your application. But don't get disheartened. There are ways around this. Focus on building an impressive portfolio and creating direct relationships with hiring managers and recruiters. I personally know senior data scientists and data science managers who don't have an advanced degree. Plus, these days there are affordable online part-time master's degree programs like the one at Georgia Tech, so if you decide you do want to get a degree, that's becoming more and more accessible. What about if your degree is in a completely unrelated field? Welcome to the club. This is actually pretty common because many of us graduated before data science or machine learning degrees even existed. Yes, you'll need to do more self-study, but your background could be used as an advantage. For example, English majors often excel at writing and presenting, both of which can be super helpful for getting a job and making your impact known once you're in a role. As another example, as a social scientist, I find I'm better at conceptualizing machine learning problems in terms of human behavior, which helps in terms of feature engineering and understanding model performance issues, more than you might imagine. Next, let's talk about some concerns I hear a lot regarding technical skills, because the bar is pretty high for these in these fields. I've never coded before. The real question isn't whether you've coded before, it's whether you want to learn, right? So coding is core to the work of data scientists and machine learning engineers. If you're not excited about learning to code, this is probably not the field for you. But if you are, that just means you're early in your journey. 7 years ago, I had never written a single line of code. Now it's second nature and one of the best sources of flow in my life. In my experience, coding is not even the hardest thing you're going to need to learn, though that's different for everybody, of course. If you're excited about learning, just start. See how it feels. If you like it, from there you can build a structured learning plan and just really commit to it. Or, I don't have a strong math background. Same. I dropped out of high school after 10th grade and I didn't really take any math besides statistics classes in college. Those stat skills really turned out to be super useful for data science, of course, but I never took linear algebra or calculus, which are pretty important for machine learning. I had to learn them on my own. And in reality, you don't need to be a math genius for most roles. For data science, strong statistics skills are essential, but that's mainly it. For machine learning engineering, you need a solid understanding of calculus and linear algebra, but we're talking comprehension, not proving theorems. If higher level math isn't your thing, you're probably not going to ever become a research scientist, and that's fine. Plenty of successful practitioners are competent rather than brilliant at math. The question isn't about your current skills, it's about your willingness to learn and grow, like with everything in life. Now let's talk about something that keeps a lot of people from taking the leap: career transitions. So what if you're trying to switch careers in your 30s or later? So you know what fascinates me about this concern? I feel like we've somehow convinced ourselves that our 20s are the only time we can learn new skills. But I want to challenge that thinking. So if you're 35, 40, 50, you still have decades of work ahead of you. You know, if you're 40, you're still looking at 20 or 25 years in the career ahead of you. That's longer than most of us have been in any career. Besides, let me ask you something. Would you rather be 45 with machine learning skills or 45 without them? Because those years are going to pass either way. You might as well spend the time doing something you're excited about. And while ageism in tech is not unheard of, just because someone could potentially discriminate against you doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. There are people of all ages in these roles, so it's absolutely possible to find a team that's a good fit. I have a big gap in my resume. I've been there. After undergrad, I spent 4 years running a small jewelry business. When I first started applying to tech jobs, I didn't even include this management experience because it just wasn't relevant. You know how many times I was asked about it? Once. And all I had to do was tell them a quick story about how I worked in jewelry for a while, which they thought was neat, and we moved on. That's it. So of course you need to be prepared to address it in interviews, but don't let it hold you back. A strong portfolio, good networking, and strong interview preparation can more than make up for any gaps. What about, I have no relevant work experience? This is a big one, but remember, we all started there at some point. The key is creating your own opportunities to get that experience. That means personal projects, volunteering, contributing to open source, whatever it takes to show what you can do. The reality is we can't just wait for someone to give us a job. We have to prove our value first. Companies care about what you can do for them, not the other way around. So yes, that means hustling at first, but that's how you break in. You can absolutely do it if you're willing to put the work in. And sometimes it's not the technical challenges holding us back, but our own doubts and fears. One thing I hear a lot is, I'm not smart enough for this field. It's a bummer every time I hear this one. Intelligence isn't fixed, it's like a muscle that grows with use. You don't need to be a genius to succeed in data science or machine learning. What you need is persistence and consistency. I've seen brilliant people fail because they gave up too easily, and I've seen people who struggled at first succeed because they just kept showing up day after day. It's not always about being the smartest. Determination, curiosity, and willingness to be uncomfortable count for a lot. There's too much to learn. Yes, there is. And that's actually exciting if you look at it the right way. The key is breaking it down into manageable pieces. You don't need to learn everything all at once. Build a structured learning plan and stick to it. Focus on one thing until you're comfortable, then add the next piece. Or, relatedly, the technology keeps changing too fast. This is a reality of these fields. You will constantly be learning. If that doesn't appeal to you, to be frank, this probably isn't the field for you. But I think something to remember is that one of the reasons this field is so fun is that it is challenging. And also realistically, it's part of why we're paid well. I think it's reasonable to expect to put some continuous effort in exchange for some really big benefits. So what if you're worried about affording expensive boot camps or courses? The good news here is that you don't need them. So some of the best resources are completely free. You've got YouTube, documentation, open source projects, free MOOCs. What matters isn't how much you spend. It's really how much time and effort you put into practice. Building your own projects is absolutely the best way to learn anyway. Or what about, I don't know where to start? This I can help with. I put together an hour-long roadmap video along with a free 80-page ebook on how to go from an absolute beginner to your first data scientist job in a year. I'm considering making another video on a roadmap for machine learning engineers, but let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. Lastly, maybe you're worried about the job market in general. One thing we hear a lot is that the field is oversaturated or too competitive. Realistically, yes. Breaking into the field is tough, especially at the entry level. But once you get past that first role, opportunities become a lot more available. The key is pushing yourself beyond what the average entry-level candidate does. Don't compare yourself to other beginners. Compare yourself to those who are already working in the field. Study harder, build more impressive projects, and prepare for interviews more thoroughly. While others are complaining about competition, be the one putting in the extra work. Lastly, here's a big one. AI will replace data scientists or machine learning engineers soon anyway. Look, maybe it will. But in my mind, very few jobs are truly safe from AI. The ones that are tend to be hands-on or social roles like electricians or hairstylists. These are absolutely respectable careers, but if you're worried about AI disruption, pretty much any knowledge work could be at risk. And even then, there's no consensus about if or when we will end up seeing really radical changes to the job market. So what are you going to do? Be paralyzed by fear forever? In my mind, even if the field changes dramatically, the skills you learn, so problem solving, analytical thinking, working with data, will probably be valuable no matter what. So I think it's still worth trying, even if one day we all might have to do a bit of a career pivot, myself included. Here's what it comes down to. Every single concern we've discussed today is valid. They're real challenges that need to be overcome. But none of them is a true blocker if you're willing to put in the work. The question isn't, can I become a data scientist or machine learning engineer? The question is, am I willing to do what it takes? If you're excited about learning, if you're ready to put in consistent effort, if you're willing to push through the tough parts, then yes, you absolutely can do this. I'm not going to tell you it will be easy, but it will be worth it. And hey, if you're ready to start this journey, I've got more videos coming up soon, so make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.